allowed to hold in-person services in L.A. County, limited, though, to 25% of building capacity. And according to Rabbi Richard Camras of Shomrei Torah Synagogue in West Hills, reopening will be a process.
There's no immediate date for reopening, and we are certainly not rushing to reopen until we have everything in place that fits with what the governor and the county and the mayor are requiring of churches and synagogues and places of worship. So we do have a committee that has been working the last couple of weeks, putting things together and trying to make sure that we fit in with county guidelines.
Have you heard from parishioners urging you to reopen or simply to reopen as safely as possible?
There's a mix. There are people who are anxious and itching to get back. They want to come back to our daily services, what's called the daily minyan. And I've heard from a number of people that want to do that and also want to come back on Shabbat mornings, Saturday mornings. And there are many others who say, you know what, we are content watching you by live stream and by Zoom. And we're very happy staying at home and being safe and letting this ride out. So I would say it's a mix, with more people leaning towards staying home than actually desirous of coming back.
Last week, the temple did a bar mitzvah by Zoom, right?
That's correct.
What was that like?
Well, to say interesting would be an understatement. It was the first time I've ever done something like that. And we met with the family a number of times prior to the service. We had a 2-hour rehearsal to make sure that everything went smoothly. That was with Cantor Jackie Raffi. And then we did it. And it seemed that everybody was very pleased. The family was overjoyed that they were able to hold on to their date and celebrate this milestone in their family's life. And the members of the congregation and community that listened in felt that they were part of something remarkable, something new, something that, was life-changing given the circumstances.
Were other family members of the bar mitzvah boy able to tune in via Zoom in this instance?
In fact, yes. Not only were they able to tune in, but we had family members from Argentina, from Mexico City, and from other parts of the United States who all felt very close and connected, who were able to participate, who held up signs, who joined in on the Zoom. And it was actually as close to being in person as you can be, given the virtual state of affairs.
Wow. That's really something. Did the family, usually in and of course with a bar mitzvah, there's a big party afterward. Did the family express, for lack of a better term, sorrow that such a party couldn't take place?
A little bit of disappointment, but they stayed on Zoom and they were able to have lunch together by Zoom. We have 3 more B'nai Mitzvah coming up in the month of June.
That's a series of bar and bat mitzvahs, right?
Yeah, a bar and bat mitzvah. Right. And one of them is planning on doing an afternoon car mitzvah party in the parking lot of the synagogue, where they're going to have a DJ. People are going to stay in their cars. They're going to drive around. They've created a montage of photos of the young lady who's being bat mitzvahed. And they are going to be able to, and they're going to hold her up on chairs, which is a very typical custom at a bar bat mitzvah party, to raise the child up in a chair and dance with her. So they're trying to create virtually and in the synagogue parking lot as many things as they can to make the celebration feel like it's normal.
A car mitzvah?
A car mitzvah, that's correct. Or I should say a car mitzvah party, because the bat mitzvah will either be in the synagogue if we have managed to get everything under control and adhere to the guidelines, or be on Zoom as it was last week.
Now, I presume you've gone to the temple, physically gone to the temple.
Yeah, I'm there usually 1 or 2 days a week, but I'm the only one who's there in my office, and I certainly have a mask in case that I run into somebody. But it's been relatively quiet because we haven't been open for the community as of yet.
Right, and all the Jewish day camps and things like that, they're all closed for the summer, right? That's not going to happen.
Everything is closed. We're online like everybody else. Our preschool is online, our religious school. Actually, Ken, we had our 7th grade religious school graduation, and after we did it by Zoom, in 4 separate cars, Cantor and I, our religious school director, and our 7th grade teacher drove to each person's house, and we had the parents bless each child. We gave them gifts. We popped confetti for them. And so we were able to celebrate each child finishing their 7th grade religious school in the front yard of their home.
Oh, man. Now, regarding the reopening of houses of worship, what have you heard?
They can, although there's significant guidelines. There's like a 6-page document that came out that requires obviously hand washing and temperature taking and certain ways in which people come in and out. They're limiting the amount of capacity to 25% of what normally a sanctuary may hold. They've put in guidelines for no drinking fountains and making sure that there is a record of who comes in advance so we know exactly how many people are coming. They're very thorough, and we have a committee that is going line by line in each of the regulations to make sure we adhere to them.
How do you maintain that 25%, the cap on attendance? Do you know yet?
Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to probably ask people to sign up in advance so we know exactly who's coming. And my sense is in the beginning, what we will do is maybe just open up the synagogue services to the families of the B'nai Mitzvah and therefore limit it that way. And then in the month of July, when there are no B'nai Mitzvah, be more creative about figuring out how to bring congregants back in a slow and safe manner.
Right. We also you got the high holy days coming up, and I don't know. I suspect it's sometime September, October. I haven't looked that far ahead yet, and
yes,
hopefully this will be behind us.
No, I don't think so. We're already talking about all sorts of hybrid forms of worship, doing some Zoom, some virtual, some live streaming, and some in synagogue services as a way of making sure that we meet the needs of the totality of our community. Those who don't want to come in and those who do want to come in. It seems that there have been studies that show that large gatherings of people increase the risk of infection. And so what we want to do is make sure that even if we're allowed to come together and worship, we want to do it maintaining safe distancing. And we also want to make sure that singing, which is another way in which it seems that the virus is transmitted, is somehow kept to a minimum, or we take all of the necessary precautions to limit the scope of how we sing together as a community.
And chanting, right? Because the spittle, for lack of a better term, may travel longer than 6 feet. Is that possible?
Yes. So that's why we're going to probably have plexiglass in front of the cantor and in front of me and anybody else who's singing. And we may do a lot of pre-recorded things that we can then play for people so that we don't have to have choirs and lots of people gathering who are singing together.
And our thanks to Rabbi Richard Camras of Shomrei Torah Synagogue in West Hills.